Hey guys, Kelade here. Hope you guys are having a great holiday. And as part of the holiday spirit, we're gonna get two videos in one day. And also one of the videos, this video, is gonna be the AoE mastering your inner fury video. So let's just jump right into it, right? So for AoE for Fury Warriors, there's slight changes to kind of what we do, especially now with Tier 21 and using Bloodbath. So this video will be focused specifically on using Tier 21 and Bloodbath. If you're talking about AoE for other parts, you can always look at the older guides, which covers inner rage and how you should AoE there. But we're gonna focus on like the current content of AoE, using Bloodbath and using Tier 21. Now, if you're not using Tier 21 and you do have Bloodbath, it's not that big of a deal. Like AoE is pretty much still the same. But first off, let's take a look at talents, right? So go over all the talents. War Machine is pretty much a must-have whenever you're AoEing. Like you'll see some sims where I just sim with targets not dying, but for AoE, like War Machine, always. If you're doing Mythic Plus, if you're doing any AoE fight where there's ads, always War Machine. Endless Rage is fine, Freshman is fine, but if there's ads that die, you're gonna want War Machine. As far as for the second row of talents, doesn't matter too much, but of course, if there's ads, if you're doing Mythic Plus, you're definitely gonna want Shockwave. It is one of the strengths that you bring as a Fury Warrior, right? Considering your AoE stun is on a 20-second cooldown, as long as you hit 3 or more targets, which of course we're talking about AoE, so there's gonna be 3 or more targets. And then as far as for the third row of talents, you do have a choice here between Wrecking Ball and Avatar. And the difference here is just how much AoE there is, right? If there's going to be a constant amount of AoE where you're just like whirlwinding pretty much the entire fight, then yes, Wrecking Ball. Now, if there's going to be more bursty AoE and, even parts where of the fight where the ads are going to die and you're going to just be single target the boss, then yes, then you're going to want Avatar instead. So using this is kind of dependent on the fight and dependent on the specific Mythic Plus that you're doing or even the affixes that you get. So generally for Wrecking Ball, I'll use Wrecking Ball more on fortified keys and especially on keys where you're able to pull more mobs. And then for Avatar, I'll use it for like the really, really high tyrannical keys, or if it's a dungeon like Quarter Stars where there's a lot of mini bosses where you just do the mini boss by themselves. So definitely roll 45, you can take it. Though generally for more AoE DPS, especially if you have the legendary belt, you're gonna want to use Wrecking Ball. As far as for the next tier of talents, Furious Charge, Bounding Stride, Warpaint. Furious Charge, you don't really need it. It's really between Bounding Stride and Warpaint. And that's just dependent on how much damage that you're gonna take in an encounter or in the Mythic Plus or whatever you're doing. If there's too much damage, right, especially on the high tyrannical keys where you have these bosses that just start one-shotting you, and definitely you want to take Warpaint. But if you don't need that, or if you're in a race setting where you have like 5 healers and you're not really dying because you're taking too much damage, then the mobility that you get for Bounding Stride is definitely worth it. I would say more so you want to lean towards Warpaint if you're doing Mythic Plus, and then you want to lean towards Bounding Stride if you're doing a rating. And then in the next row of talents, the 75 talents, you're going to go with Frothing Berserker. I know some people want to take Carnage, like, oh, you Rampage more, but I don't recommend against that because the whole benefit of Warrior DPS, Fury Warrior in particular, is that it's all about that burst AoE. And Frothing Berserker will give you much, much more burst AoE, which is what we're here for, which is what we're really good at. So, you want to add to those strengths. And then the next row of talents, Bloodbath, name the game, the whole reason why we had this video. This is going to make your AoE do crazy amounts of damage, right? All the damage that you're going to do, it's going to put a 40% dot on them. So really good talent for this. And also while you're AoEing, you don't use Frenzy or Inner Rage anyways because you don't fear slash in AoE and you're not going to do Raging Blows in AoE with Bloodbath. And we'll get to that in a second. And then for the last row of talents, of course, Reckless Abandon, best talent right here, no doubt. I mean, you can use Blaze Storm, you can use Dragon Roar if you want. They technically both AoE to some extent, but they're nowhere close to the output that Reckless Abandon have in that it lets you get additional 2 seconds in Battle Cry, which is huge, right? It gives you 100 rage, which is also huge because then you can instantly go into a rampage. So you definitely want to be taking Reckless Abandon here, right? So this is kind of like your de facto AoE setup, right? This is going to give you the best AoE. Then you might want to change Avatar, and then you might want to change the Warpaint. Like that's the only thing you're going to change, right? The third and fourth row of talents. Everything else pretty much stays the same for AoE. Now, before we get into gear, let me just show you guys kind of like the opener for AoE. So hopefully you guys have Moonglaves. If you guys don't have Moonglaves and you have some other trinket, just know that you're going to use whatever other trinket when you use your first rampage. But if you do have Moonglaves, since Moonglaves last 8 seconds, right, and your Battle Cry lasts 7 seconds, and the last tick of Moonglaves does the most amount of damage, you want to actually use your Moonglaves 1 second before you use Battle Cry, right? So a generic rotation, when we're pulling ads, what you're going to do is you're going to charge in, and you're going to Moonglaves and Whirlwind at the same time, and that'll proc your Meat Cleaver buff, right? So it kind of looks like this. So charge in, Moonglaze, Whirlwind, Battle Cry, Rampage, right? Odin's Fury, Whirlwind, Bloodthirst, Whirlwind, Rampage, and then you Whirlwind, and then you Bloodthirst, and then you keep Whirlwinding, right? And then you Bloodthirst on cooldown. And that's pretty much our general opener for AoE. And you're going to actually do that for even just 2 targets and above, right? So with Bloodbath, it's actually really interesting to kind of what's happened to the importance of using a Raging Blow over a Whirlwind. So if you guys look, without any buffs, my Raging Blow does 339,000 damage, and my Whirlwind does 231,000 damage, right? So essentially, if Whirlwind hits 2 targets, it's already doing more than Raging Blow. And then at that point, it's just, hey, is the rage gain from Raging Blow worth it over the Whirlwind? And actually it's not, right? So here on my screen, you're gonna see a few sims. There's like 9 comparisons total, right? Just to help you guys kind of like keep track of what you're looking at. So the columns are gonna be the amount of time that you spent in the fight. So there's a 20-second fight, a 60-second fight, and a 300-second fight. So the first row comparison, that's gonna be comparing your AoE rotation. Like you just kept doing the AoE rotation where you're pretty much only using Bloodthirst, Whirlwinds, and Rampages. And then for the next 2, single target, that's just you're just doing the single target rotation. Like you're not even thinking about AoE. And then for the third one, you're doing the single target rotation and then you're also executing, right? Because some people think if the fight's short enough and you're aiming short enough, do you need to execute or not, right? So hopefully like this will give you a good perspective on it. And of course, this is simmed with 2 targets. So just 2 targets alone, AoE pretty much beats using any single target thing out of the park. So that makes AoE much, much easier, right? Because it used to be like, it was like 3 or 4 targets, you did this. And then if it was like 6 or more targets, you did this. If you had the legendary belt, you subtract all the numbers by 1. But now AoE is super, super easy. If there's 1 target, you do the single target rotation. Check out my previous Bloodbath video over there in the top right of your screen if you want to see like single target for Bloodbath, right? But for AoE, super easy. If there's 2 or more targets, you're going to do the AoE priority, which is as follows. First, you're always going to want to have Meat Cleaver up, right? If you haven't proc Meat Cleaver, you want to do it, right? So even if you don't have Moonglaves, so let me show you again. If you don't have Moonglaves, your opener is literally the same, with the exception that you just don't use Moonglaves, right? So you're going to charge in, Whirlwind, Battlecry Rampage, Odin's Fury, Whirlwind, Bloodthirst, Whirlwind, Rampage. And then that's going to be enough for your opener, right? And you see there's pretty much a Whirlwind between almost every single ability, except for Odin's Fury, because you don't need to Meat Cleaver, right? And this is the key, right? This buff here, Meat Cleaver, right? Whenever you're rolling something, your next Bloodthirst or Rampage strikes up to 4 additional targets for 50% damage. And that's the whole key here, right? And because of how much damage, Rampage does with tier 21, it's really good to just be cleaving that Rampage to additional targets. So even at just 2 targets, you actually just take out Raging Blow completely, and you're actually going to use Whirlwind instead. So here's the following priority for AoE. You're always going to want to make sure that if you don't have the Meat Cleaver buff, from hitting Whirlwind on something, that you have that first. That's actually even more important than just jumping in and Battlecry and rampaging something. The only time where that's not the case is if there's like over like 10 mobs where like you just want to like burst them as fast as you can. So I would say that as long as there's less than 10 mobs, your first priority is making sure that you Whirlwind to get the Meat Cleaver buff, and then you want to rampage at 100 rage. Now if you're in Battlecry and it's like their second rampage, you don't have to do it at 100 rage, because it's more important to try to get 2 rampages at least in Battlecry than it is to try to hit that 100 rage. So that's the second priority, right? Hitting the rampage after you hit the Meat Cleaver. If you're not in Battlecry, you want to make sure you get to 100 rage. If you are in Battlecry, it doesn't matter. And then the priority after that is literally Bloodthirst, and then just Whirlwinds after that. So it looks super, super simple. There's only like 4 steps, right? First, make sure you hit Meat Cleaver, right? If you're at 100 rage, rampage. If you're not 100 rage, you have Bloodthirst ready and you have Meat Cleaver up, hit your Bloodthirst. If not, just Whirlwind. And that's really all you have to do for AoE. So for cooldown management, as long as like you're in the middle of a Mythic Plus or in the middle of a raid fight, the fight or the dungeon isn't ending very soon, you're always going to hold your other cooldowns for Battlecry, right? So you're not going to use Bloodbath when you don't have Battlecry. You're not going to use Avatar when you don't have Battlecry. You're not going to use your, whatever racial abilities you have without Battlecry. You're not going to use your Odin Sphere without Battlecry. It's very, very important that you focus on using Battlecry as much as possible, and then you hold everything else for Battlecry. So yes, there might be some times where you have Bloodbath up for like 15 to 20 seconds, but it is still worth it to hold on to it for Battlecry. So as far as our gear is concerned, in the previous screenshot that I showed you guys, where we compare the difference between the legendary helmet versus the legendary pants and which one pairs better with the legendary belt, right? Generally, on that screenshot you guys saw, the legendary pants was just a little bit better than the helmet, in the AoE situations, right? And that was looking at 2 target DPS. And so there's actually another legendary. If you're going for something like, the initial burst in a Mythic Plus, for example, where, you're just gonna go as hard as you can, right? Pull as big as you can because you're gonna have all of your cooldowns up. You could actually use Kil'jaeden's Burning Wish and the legendary belt instead. And the biggest reason why that works is that Kil'jaeden's Burning Wish, when you use it or if you use another active, they don't put each other on cooldown like your other trinkets do. So for example, right now, if I had my Windscar Whetstone equipped, with my Umbral Moonglaze equipped, if I use Moonglaze, it'll put my Whetstone on a 30-second cooldown. And I can't use it on that pull right away. But with Moonglaze and Kil'jaeden's Burning Wish, for some reason, Kil'jaeden's Burning Wish doesn't incur this cooldown if you use it or if you use another trinket. So you can actually use both trinkets at the same time. So you're going to get 2 trinkets worth of AoE burst, right away at once. But unfortunately, Kil'jaeden's Burning Wish doesn't get buffed by most of our buffs, right? The only buff that it actually gets buffed by is this relic, the Unrivaled Strength relic, where it increases all damage you deal by an X amount during Battlecry. I have 7 of these, so it deals, 35% extra damage, but it doesn't get buffed by Enrage, Frothing Berserker, Avatar, even Battlecry itself, because the trinket auto crits, but it does get buffed by Unrivaled Strength, so it is still important for you to use this trinket in Battlecry. So really quickly, before I show you guys an example rotation of using this trinket, with the Kil'jaedens and the Moonglaze together, take a look at the sims that I've done, right? These are 20-second sims, right? So just like an AoE burst fight, you know that this is going to be burst, right? How much burst can you absolutely do at the beginning of a Mythic Plus, for example? So right here, you have 3 different sims. There you have a 2 target, 3 target, and then a 6 target, right? Just to show you like how much it can do between the various things. And even at 2 targets, it still wins, which is surprising because for pretty much every time that you use Kil'jaedens and Moonglaves, you're pretty much only going to be able to get 1 Rampage in Battlecry because you just don't gain enough rage without either the Helmet or the Pan's Legendaries. Regardless, even without that, right, it still does more AoE burst, right? So let me show you guys the example really quickly, right? So you're still going to do the same thing as before, right? You're going to charge in, right, Moonglaze and Whirlwind, then Battlecry Rampage, and then after I Battlecry, when I'm rampaging or when I'm doing an Odin's Fury, I'll use my Kil'jaeden's Burning Wish, and then I'll continue with the priority, right? So, all right, we're gonna charge in, right, Moonglaze, Whirlwind, Battlecry, Rampage, Odin's Fury, Kil'jaeden's, Whirlwind, Bloodthirst, Whirlwind, right? You don't have enough rage to do a Rampage, but it's unfortunate. But it still does, more burst AoE than you were doing before because of the additional burst that you got from using the Kil'jaeden's trinket. So I think definitely that trinket is something that you can take advantage of. And then of course, if you guys check out my streams, you guys do see that I swap trinkets in and out all the time between different combats, right? Sometimes I'll have the Moonglaze on, for example, if we just finished the first encounter and I just use Moonglaze, I'll actually swap to my Windscar Whetstone as a trinket, right? There's a few trinkets that you guys can use for AoE, but generally the best ones that you can use for AoE, as far as for a Mythic Plus is concerned, are something like Moonglaze and Windscar Whetstone, right? Stuff that you can just like activate and go, right? Of course, you guys will see me use the Fortune's Fabricator on, a fight like Enter on High Command, but that's slightly different because that's a raid encounter where like the boss kind of stays there for the most part, and then the ads spawn around the boss, and then you pop the trinket when the ads spawn, right? Great, works out fine. But if you're talking about like Mythic Plus where you're moving from pack to pack, right? The best AoE trinkets are whatever trinkets you can get that you can just instantly use and activate for DPS, right? There's also the Voice Stalker's Contract, but it doesn't do as well as Moonglaze, and it doesn't even do as well as the Windscar Whetstone. Even though both of those are physical damage, just because you can't guarantee with that trinket if it is going to hit everything. But of course, as always, if you have a high eye level version, of any AoE trinket, try it out. They could be beneficial, right? If you have a 985 Voice Stalker's Contract, for example, that could still be better than Moonglaze for you, right? Just depending on what eye level it is. I know that this was a long awaited video for you guys, so hopefully this AoE video helps you in mastering your Inner Fury. As always, thanks for checking out the video, guys. Feel free to subscribe to see more. See ya.